Your support is everything to us. 90% of you haven't subscribed yet, so please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so we can keep bringing you amazing content. Also, we'd love to know where you're watching from. Leave your city in the comments. I had always thought I was in control, that I knew exactly where my life was heading. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them, and nothing prepares you for the destruction that comes with your own choices. I had everything I could ever want. At least that's what I told myself. A perfect family, a beautiful home, a husband who loved me, 2 children who adored me, and a life that seemed straight out of a fairy tale. But beneath the surface, the truth was far different. I had become numb to the life I had built. My days felt like an endless loop of mundane routines. The love I shared with Michael had dulled into something that resembled companionship more than passion. He was my best friend, yes. But the spark that once burned brightly between us had long ago been extinguished. And then came Alex. He was always there, in the background, a shadow lingering on the edges of our lives. He was Michael's childhood friend, someone who seemed to fade in and out of our family gatherings. But I never gave him a second thought. To me, he was nothing more than a background character, a non-entity in the world I thought I had under control. But one evening, during a routine dinner with friends, everything changed. Michael had stepped out to take a call, leaving me alone with Alex for the first time in what felt like forever. We were standing by the kitchen counter, making small talk as we always did. But this time, it felt different. There was a tension in the air, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Alex had always been reserved, but tonight he looked at me differently. It wasn't the usual polite indifference. There was something more. A curiosity, maybe, or something deeper that I didn't want to acknowledge. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft but piercing. I looked up, taken aback. What kind of question was that? I was fine, wasn't I? But something in his eyes made me hesitate. The vulnerability in his gaze struck a chord in me, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. Not just as a mother, not just as a wife, but as a woman. As myself. I felt a sudden rush of emotions, embarrassment, longing, confusion. I quickly brushed it aside. "I'm fine," I said, trying to sound normal, but the tremble in my voice betrayed me. "You don't look fine," Alex replied, his voice steady. "It's okay to admit when you're not." For some reason, his words resonated with me. It had been so long since anyone had asked me how I was really doing. How I was feeling, the weight of it all, the years of neglecting my own needs, the emotional distance I had been pushing away, the silent suffering. I could feel it threatening to break free, but I couldn't. I couldn't let him see how broken I truly was. We both fell into silence, the air between us thick with unspoken words. I wanted to say something, anything, but nothing came. When Michael returned moments later, I felt an immediate sense of guilt wash over me. But it wasn't guilt for what I had just felt. It was guilt for feeling alive for the first time in years. Alive in a way I hadn't felt in so long. Alive in a way that scared me. From that moment on, something changed between Alex and me. It wasn't anything overt or noticeable at first. But the glances lingered longer. The small touches became more frequent. A hand on my shoulder, a brush of his fingers against mine. And every time it happened, I felt like I was losing a little more of myself to him, a little more of my soul slipping away. I tried to ignore it. I tried to bury the feelings, to pretend that they didn't exist. I convinced myself that I was just going through a phase, that this was nothing more than a fleeting attraction. But deep down, I knew it was more. Far more. The temptation grew stronger every day. My thoughts became consumed by him, even when he wasn't around. I would catch myself daydreaming about the conversations we'd had, the way his eyes had lingered on me, the way he made me feel like I mattered, like I wasn't just a wife and mother lost in the endless cycle of daily life. He saw me. He made me feel desired again. And for the first time in years, I allowed myself to want. I knew I was walking a dangerous path, and I tried to fight it. I tried to convince myself that it wasn't worth risking everything, my family, my marriage, my future, for a fleeting moment of passion. But the truth was, it was already too late. My heart had already chosen him. The inevitable happened one night. Michael was away on a business trip, and the kids were at a sleepover. I hadn't expected Alex to be at the party, but there he was, as if fate itself had orchestrated this moment. We found ourselves alone again, in the same kitchen where everything had started. The lights were dim, the silence thick, and for the first time, I couldn't pretend anymore. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Alex asked, his voice low, his breath warm against my skin. He was so close now, his presence overwhelming, his scent intoxicating. My pulse raced in my veins. "I don't know anymore," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I don't know if I can keep pretending like everything's fine." He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned in, and in that moment, I lost myself. All the guilt, all the shame, it melted away, replaced by a desperate need to feel something, anything. And as his lips met mine, I realized that I had just crossed a line that couldn't be undone. The next morning, reality hit with full force. The guilt was suffocating, but I couldn't deny the truth. I had chosen this. I had chosen him, and I had to face the consequences of that choice. For days, I tried to pretend like everything was normal. I smiled at Michael. I played the role of the loving wife and mother, but inside, I was falling apart. I knew what I had done was wrong, that I had betrayed everything I held dear, but I couldn't stop myself. I was trapped in a lie, suffocating under the weight of my own choices. Then, the worst part came. Michael started to suspect something. He wasn't stupid. He noticed the small changes, the way I flinched when he touched me, the way my mind seemed somewhere else, the distant look in my eyes. He asked me if something was wrong, but I lied. I told him it was just stress, that work had been overwhelming, but he could see through it. He knew me too well. It wasn't long before the confrontation came. He caught us, me and Alex, together in a moment that could never be erased. I will never forget the look on his face when he saw us. The shock, the pain, the disbelief. It was a look I will carry with me forever. His heart had been broken in the worst way, and there was nothing I could do to fix it. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking louder would make the pain too real. "Why would you do this to me? To us?" I wanted to explain. I wanted to tell him that it wasn't about him, that it wasn't about us. But the words wouldn't come. All I could do was watch as everything I had destroyed came crashing down around me. Michael left that night. He didn't say much, just gathered his things and walked out the door. I tried to follow him, to beg him to stay, but he was already gone, disappearing into the night, leaving me with nothing but the aftermath of my own choices. And that was when it hit me. The weight of what I had done, the guilt, the shame, the regret. It was overwhelming. I had lost everything that truly mattered. The life I had taken for granted was gone, and all I was left with was the aftermath of my selfishness. Days turned into weeks. I reached out to Michael, but he refused to speak to me. Alex, too, had disappeared, leaving me with nothing but the emptiness of my own heart. I had ruined everything. I had thrown away a life I should have cherished, but there was no going back. I had made my bed, and now I had to lie in it, and all I could do was wait for the inevitable consequence of my actions.